Nah, we're just messing with you. Hey, welcome in to another episode of Swarm Talk Live here. We're not going to go through the entire countdown once again, but I want to welcome you in. Little new setup, little new thing we got going on. And unfortunately, already thrown down in the comments below, Ralph is not with us here on this Thursday evening. Hope you're doing well wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. If you're listening after the fact, this is what I want you to do: hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let Ralph know at Ralph Leary on Twitter. Okay, at Ralph Leary, why he is not here in the live show. I think he's on a movie date with another girl. So he's gonna do what he's gonna do. We're gonna talk recruiting here tonight in the most recent kind of historic run that the Jackets have been on. Let's talk about it. But before we do, I want to make sure to thank you for tuning in. Make sure to make you understand, hey, what we appreciate you're doing. We got the background right here. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. Before we do that, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the video, to content as well. We're going to be getting, obviously, into some more stuff. I hope you've enjoyed the interviews as well. Shout out to Nancy. I know she's really enjoyed it. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm excited about. Thank you to Rec Talk for having us on last week. We enjoyed it, but it's time for us to do another live show. We're going to get to some of the comments. We're going to get to some of your questions, as we always do here on these live shows. Going to kind of go through the itinerary that I've got here on the monitor next to me. If you see that light coming off my hand, that's what we have going on right there. But put your questions in, and I'm going to try to get to them. Remember, it's a one-man show tonight. Nobody behind the scenes, Ralph. So if you didn't get your question answered, we're going to have another live show in the next week or so to kind of talk about some bold predictions for Georgia Tech in 2023. But let's talk about this. The Jackets had quite the month of June, did they not? Look, the month of June was really nice. They had 6 commits entering the month of June. They finished with 14th. That is good for 4th amongst all Power 5 programs heading in to the 2024 class, heading into the month of June. They added the most talent. And look, we've seen in recent years the accumulation of talent. What does that really mean? And I think in this sense, it means they did really, really good. They really did good. So I agree with the kind of national perspective that's being put on of a little more attention to Brent Key. But hey, remember where you heard this first here on the YouTube channel. That's a good reason to subscribe. The number 21 class updated as of today per 24/7 Sports. 20 commits. And listen, why is this a big deal? And we're going to talk about this. Why is this a big deal? In my opinion, it's a big deal in the sense of you want as much talent as you can get, accumulate it, and develop it. And we're going to highlight some of the names. We're going to watch a little film of some of the guys they brought in, most notably the top 2 guys that I really like in this class. And obviously, a lot of people do. And then one, we're not going to watch film on them, but we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to star some questions down below. Really and truly, though, if you're watching over on Twitter and you're wondering how in the world can I get my question in, you need to come over to the YouTube. It's in the profile of the Crowded Booth. Make sure you do just that. But it's a number 21 class, 20 commits, and they're not done yet. And listen, you heard it from the kids that we interviewed, we talked to. We got some more of those coming down the pipeline as well. But you heard it from them, and you heard the excitement. We're going to get into that as well, why I think there's a little more excitement this time around. But listen, 14 commits in the month of June is 4th most in the country amongst Power 5 programs. The programs ahead of them in that, and I don't have the list off the top of my head, but I do know one is indeed Nebraska. And so I think that, and I'm starring questions down here, when you have programs that have a rejuvenation period under what Georgia Tech's experiencing right now, Nebraska is experiencing under Matt Rule because of obviously what they have going on in the sense of the brand new coach. Same situation as Tech, kind of the new coach. I think that it is a good thing. It's positive momentum, but we're going to talk about can they keep it and what they can do. Month of June has been fantastic, and it's headlined by a class, folks, that I really, really, really like. C.J. Jackson. And hopefully you're going to be able to hear from him later on early in the month of July. We're going to get him on for an interview. But what I want to do is I want to kind of talk about what makes this young man special. So we're going to key in right here. We're going to watch some of the highlights along with you here. This is C.J. Jackson. He's a guy, look, that can do a lot of different things off the edge. You're going to be watching some of the highlights right here. His ability to be violent off the edge. He's got a nice bend. He's got length at the edge position that you have to compete, not only with the ACC, but where Georgia Tech wants to go and compete on a national front. Look, they fended off a lot of SEC programs for this. And the biggest thing, I think, when you look at what Jackson has to do and has to kind of continue to do, is it's a perfect situation of what you have Jackson in the sense of we want to keep him home. He wants to stay home, and it's kind of a perfect marriage that's right now. Now, look, it doesn't mean that other SEC programs are not going to continue to, buzz the phone of Jackson and his family, most notably, other programs. But when you look at top talent in this state, the ability to secure a guy like Jackson goes a long way with where I think the Jackets are wanting to do in doing that. And we talk about, what this class has done. I mean, look, so far they're number 21 in the country. Obviously, Jackson holds a lot of weight in that. But this is one that has finished outside the top 60 in the last two, but as most recently as 2020, we all remember they were in that top 30 range. Jackson is an explosive player. He's a headliner player, and he's a guy, too, that talking with some of the folks over at 24/7 Sports nationally, you're going to want to pay attention to his recruitment. Now, look, we have good conversation in the Discord. You can hit that link down below if you're watching on YouTube. He's a guy that's on 4-star watch to really kind of secure that 4th star in 27 sports rankings. Obviously, the composite's going to kind of even out kind of amongst all the ranking services. But Jackson's one of those guys that you just tell from the tape right here. He's a playmaker. He's got a knack for getting the football and going after a guy. And I think what he does great, and one of the best things I love about him, is this kid understands the game well beyond his years. He's an athletic guy. He's kind of got a freaky nature about him in that sense. But as he continues to grow into his body, hopefully has a good senior year. If Georgia Tech has some on-the-field success, they should be able to keep C.J. Jackson, and that's the hopeful and the wishful thinking in this. But I think that the relationships made, the idea of wanting to stay home and contribute and be a part of something different, that's been something we're going to talk about here later on in the show, but has been so different in the sense of you see guys making the choice to not follow the crowd, if that makes sense. So I think that I really, really like where they're going in the sense of CJ Jackson, and he is a big reason why. That's CJ Jackson. Another piece to the puzzle that I think was an absolutely big pickup, and we're going to get his highlights right here, is a guy that, look, when you see what he can do on the field, there's no doubt in my mind this is a playmaking type of offensive player. Now, we're going to talk about why I think it's key that he's on the offensive side of the football. But when you look and see, as we're going to pull this up right here, and once again, excuse me, we've got a one-man show tonight. You can thank Mr. Ralph Leary for that one as well. And you can see the name right there. That is Kobe Young. Look, I love what Kobe Young brings to the table in the sense of this is a guy who is a down-the-field threat. He can make people miss in space. But when you see what he brings to the table in the sense of it's a guy that can make plays with or without the football and get himself open. Look, how many times have we talked about separation? And I want you to watch this clip right here. It's not the best camera angle, but his quarterback throws up a ball in the corner of the end zone. And this is a kid that obviously in a big-time environment goes and get down and brings down the ball. You're going to see on this clip right here, nice little tunnel screen right here, his ability to evade tacklers, get upfield quickly, and not only make some guys miss, throw a stiff arm, and he's off for the races. We talk about what the Jackets have needed at the receiver position, and it's a guy that can create natural separation. Look, we know the quarterback play has not been where exactly you want it. It has not been, let's say, elite, obviously. Hasn't been great, obviously, at times. But you have to have a receiving core that can get open, and I think that's one of the things they've identified about Kobe Young is a guy that can make some plays, obviously, after he catches the football, make some plays after the catch. He's going to be a physical presence, too, as he continues to grow and get stronger. But most notably, he's a good route runner, and he's a guy that with his footwork and with his speed is going to be able to create some mismatches. And it just feels like that Georgia Tech often last year we saw, they just didn't have necessarily guys that you felt like, hey, let's see what they can do here, and let's see what they can get open and create an opportunity for Jeff Sims or Zach Pyron or Zach Gibson or whoever was playing quarterback at the time. That's why I think that this is a really, really important deal in the sense of getting a guy that comes in with that trait already. And so that's going to be really important to kind of monitor and to watch. The final guy on my list, and look, when you look at this class, there's a lot of names that I love to see. Obviously, I'll get into the quarterback conversation. I like Landon Marshall. I like Nehemiah Chandler, the 6'1", around 170-pound cornerback. When you look, though, at the running back position, and let's just stay there for a second. Trelane Maddox out of Parkview is a guy that I feel very comfortable in him signing and staying committed to Georgia Tech. He's an in-state guy. There's obviously a big relationship with Norval McKenzie there. But the Jaden Matthews signing out of the state of Arizona, out of Scottsdale, I think it surprised some people in the sense of maybe not paying too much attention to recruiting. But what I don't think it did, and this is what I don't think it did, there's been a focus to recruit outside the state of Georgia, and they've been able to do that. That's what they wanted to go after. And look, they've got a guys and Matthews, Marshall, Chandler, obviously Jordan Boyd out of Aiken, South Carolina. But when you get to kind of the top guys, Kobe Young out of New Orleans, Louisiana, but when you get a recruit from Arizona, obviously the thing is, can you keep him? And look, today's day and age, the can you keep a guy is going to be really important because you got to have success on the field, but you've also continued to got to build that relationship while other programs are going to continue to look at him. So that's a guy for me that I like where they sit right now with the running back position. Trelane Maddox, a great athlete, can play on both sides of the football. He'll play running back at Georgia Tech. But Jaden Matthews, 5'10", 170 pounds, and I got the scouting report on him. He's a guy that can be electric, and this is the biggest thing. He loved his unofficial visit so much that he just went ahead and committed essentially there on his official visit when he got back. Repeat that. He loved his unofficial visit so much that he said on the official, let's go ahead and do this thing. Look, that stands out. That's huge. That's what you want to see from a guy who wants to be a part of a program. So the buy-in's good. Can you keep it there? That's going to be something to continue to monitor. Hey, keep the questions rolling in. We're going to star them. We're going to get to them here towards the end of the show. But before we do just that, I want to let you know that you need to check out Section 103. I've got the shirt on right now. They've got a great sale going on. But if you have not ever made a purchase, use code Crowded Booth for 10% off your first order. Some great stuff, a great find. You're going to absolutely love what you've got going on over there and what they have going over there as well. Look, it's great content that Section 103 is putting out. I absolutely love the stuff. And seriously, it's more comfortable than anything I've ever worn. That Bobby Dodd Stadium thing is really cool. Absolutely love what they have going on. Section 103, once again, use code Crowded Booth for 10% off your first order. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So let's keep talking here, and I want to show you this before we get into it. Keep talking about where the Jackets are going and why. And this is maybe where you want to clip this, maybe where you want to hit pause and make sure you're ready. What is making this move, this transition into where they're wanting to go? Why is it so attractive right now? And because you're going to hear a lot of things. You're going to hear from people that say, well, they've been so bad. And that's true. We have to say it. It hasn't been good. Things have not been good. But why is it that this class, if they're so bad, is sitting in the top 23? That's a fan argument that people are going to have. This is kind of a couple of key points that I want to make on this. So why the recruiting success? Let's start out with how, maybe some stuff you don't know. How does this entire process work? Like you say, Bryce, how does a kid get contacted? Because one question I've gotten said, hey, this kid's kind of underrated. 24/7 Sports has him, as a 3-star. Is that more of a slapping a 3-star rating on there? But where do we go from here? Where do we sit here and say, how good really is this kid? Well, one, you're relying a lot on evaluations. So you have recruiting staff guys. You have guys that are going to sit down there and they're going to watch film. Maybe a kid sends them film. Maybe they see a kid on Twitter with highlight tape and they reach out. If a recruiting staffer, scouting director, if they like what they see, out of a kid's film, they're going to send that to a position coach. So, for example, they're going to send it to, maybe they like a quarterback. They're going to say, hey, I like what this kid's bringing to the table. Take a look at it. Let's say it's a quarterback. Let's say Chris Winkie is going to look at this, and he's going to sit here and say, okay, I like this. This looks pretty good. Then there's a conversation where the evaluation. You go deeper into it. You look at what he brings to the table. You look at, try to gather information on him, maybe from high school coaches. Maybe you reach out to a coach. Maybe you reach out. Coaches have network friends. Let's say he's offered by, I don't know, let's throw, since Ralph's Since Ralph Love's not here, we're going to throw Troy in there. Say he's offered by Troy. You got a friend that coaches for Troy. Hey, what'd you like about this guy? Why'd y'all offer him? Well, we like this. We like this. There's different things that can be taken away in that. And so that's something key to understand. Then the conversation obviously happens with the head man, Brent Key, and hey, we want to offer this. What does the spots look like? You kind of get into the roster crunch, you get with your entire personnel, and you do this. So that's kind of how the process works. Kind of boring sometimes, but maybe you want to know how that works. Why is this big? Listen, you have to give Brent Key credit in the sense of the passion. You've heard it in the interviews. If you haven't caught any of those interviews, man, just if you're in the Swarm Talk playlist, just scroll down. We got about 5, 6, in the chamber already. We've got a couple more coming here in the early months after July 4th. But you got to give credit to Brent Key because he does a great job. The passion he shows for Georgia Tech is obviously on display. And it's not a fake passion. And not to say that there was fake passion before, but I think what is huge in this is that you're seeing a guy who really loves where he is and he gets the student athlete experience at Georgia Tech. And to me, that makes all the difference in the sense of having to find a guy that you go outside the program. That's why they made the decision they did. And so far, it's paying off in recruiting. So kudos to Brent Key in that. But I think where you really have to look at some of the success is the assistant coaches. And you could probably say kudos to Brent Key for making some of these hires because so far it's paying off. And the first guy I want to highlight here is Ricky Brumfield. Brumfield is a guy that, is opening a door in the state of Louisiana that has not been open, has really probably been snapped shut, vaulted shut, however you want to use it. It's been closed for quite a while. Why is that a big deal? Well, I've been down, for people who don't know, been down in Louisiana now for, let's say 3 weeks today. Okay, 3-4 weeks. The high school talent down here is just as good as anywhere else you're going to find in the country. Per capita, you look at some of the rankings, there is that it's huge. And I'm going to go ahead and get to this, Todd. Todd, your special teams coach is Ricky Brumfield. That's the guy we're talking about. Brumfield's experience in recruiting in the state of Louisiana has netted you players, obviously, like a Kobe Young. It's netted you other guys as well. But when you look at what's potential to come, obviously all eyes are on Christian Pritchett. Where would he like to commit? Obviously, Georgia Tech feels like they're in a special spot with him. They like where they are with him. We'll have to see when he announces in early July. But what I do like about where Brumfield's place in this staff is he's making a connection where Georgia Tech hasn't had one. And if it's going to be really hard for you to recruit in the state of Georgia due to the UGAs, the Alabamas, the Auburns, everyone wanting to come in, Ohio State, and everyone wanting to come in and kind of poach talent, you've got to get creative with how you look at it. And so that's why I think the hire of Ricky Brumfield, we haven't seen, what he's going to be like as an on-field coach yet, but just in the sense of recruiting in the state of Louisiana, being creative in that. It's opened a new, I don't want to say pipeline because you've got to have several years of continuing to hit on guys and building relationships to establish a pipeline. But in year one of recruiting this state and actually finding a couple successes, I absolutely love where he's gone in that. And as we kind of go through some of those Louisiana guys I've got here to my monitor on the left, you've got Taj Butler. I love Taj Butler and where he kind of sits as he continues to put on weight in that sense. We mentioned as well a host of other guys. They were really in on, the receiver from John Curtis and Michael Turner Jr., obviously a late offer from LSU, really paid a big dividend. And that's where I kind of want to get into this is how much success can you really have in the state of Louisiana per Brumfield and what they want to do? Just from the knowledge that I have being able to, cover both teams in a different capacities is when you see a kid in Louisiana that doesn't have the LSU offer, it feels like it's open game. Until LSU offers, you feel like, let's say, you got an 85% shot. When that goes down, when the offer comes from LSU, I know people talk about dream offers, but even just being here for 3 weeks, talking to a lot of recruits over the past 6 months, been working and covering LSU, the offer down here, it just means different things because it's really the pinnacle of college football in this area for a lot of kids. There isn't a nearby neighboring school that matches. There's a lot of group of 5 programs, but it's the main deal. So if Georgia Tech can capitalize on these kids and take them out, I like the job that Brumfield's done with that. Another thing, and you have to give credit, is Josh Crawford, the wide receivers coach, with Kobe Young specifically. The tag team of Crawford and Brumfield to get Kobe Young to commit. You heard it on the interview, and if you haven't, please go watch it. We'll make sure to kind of link it down in the comments below. But you have to love where they sit with that. I absolutely love Kobe Young in the sense I think it's a dynamic weapon you're adding to the offense, and it's huge. But you continue to go, obviously, a guy like Marco Coleman, who, I mean, I was talking with some folks already in the Discord about this. What's the impact of him? The impact of Marco Coleman right now is that you've got guys, Trayshawn Griffin. I mean, you just heard the interview we did the other day. And another name I want to throw in there is Kenyatta Watson Sr. That's the process right there. Watson is making the initial contact. He's sending it up the chain. Marco Coleman and Brent Key sit down. They do, obviously, the recruiting and aspect of that. Kenyatta Watson stays in it. And that is how it should work, and that's how it is working. And so for them to bring in a guy like that, and Griffin, I really like where he says, obviously, Landon Marshall, another guy in that sense as well. But Marco Coleman has a fantastic reps already. And I think getting him back was another win for this staff. Once again, you got to see how the on-field. This is just a recruiting grade, I guess, right now we're doing. We talked about Brumfield. We talked about Kenyatta Watson. But here's the final point. And this is where I think that this is going to be where most of you are going to say, okay, now, you said earlier it was kind of getting fun again. What do you mean by that? When you hear Kobe Young talk, when you hear, and let's get back to this, when you hear, Kobe Young talk, when you hear Graham Knowles talk, when you hear Aaron Philo talk, when you hear Trelane Maddox talk, the common theme that every single one of them had said is they rave about Buster Faulkner and his offensive game plan. Now, obviously, they're not going to give up, exactly what they want to do, but I don't think we can understate, and I said this earlier in the calendar year, that was the biggest addition to this staff, to this program, maybe, in the sense that you can't bring a guy in like Buster Faulkner, who is well acquainted with, what it takes to win. He understands the processes and the procedures of what you have to have in a program to be national championship caliber. Every single kid has talked about this. Now, I don't know how much this offense is going to average in year one. I think that we need to temper expectations for Buster Faulkner because, look, it's still going to take time to get all the ingredients in the big pot here. But what I do like about what he has brought in this sense is that he's given, let's just say it, he's made Georgia Tech fun again, okay? I think that is one of the best things that he's done. Every single kid has talked about it. You can kind of tell in the interviews their eyes light up a little bit when they see, oh, this happens or this could happen, this could happen. I really, really like the addition of Buster Faulkner. I think that he's made this program fun again. He's made offensively what it means to be an offensive player at Georgia Tech fun again because, look, it was fun to run the triple option for a lot of people. We don't need to get in that conversation. But ever since then, it really has not, and I'm saying this, and I'm not in the know on this, but I would just say as a fan and watching the games, it hasn't been fun, I would say, to be an offensive player at Georgia Tech. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, if it was really, really fun to be an offensive player at Georgia Tech, he wouldn't have transferred out. You see other guys that have struggled, that have had great potential, that have been able to do that. Faulkner already showing these kids what he's going to be able to do and how he can utilize them, and having a plan and a purpose is something that I don't know has happened since the switch from the triple option to that. The plan and purpose that he has come forward with in the recruiting process is something that is unmatched at this program since, what was it, 2018? So I do believe that is a big reason, and he is a really, really big key component of that. So that's just kind of how I feel about, Buster Faulkner, the recruiting that this entire staff has done. It's been really, really impressive to watch these guys go to work. And the biggest thing is multiple people have said around the program, they're not done yet. And I encourage you to stay tuned to the channel. And that's a big reason, folks, because we're going to have some content that you're only going to be able to find here. You're not going to be able to find anywhere else going forward, going that to kind of see that. So, hey, enjoy talking with you on that. Let's get to some of the questions here. Let's get to some of the questions right here. We've got some of them started. I'm going to go up, keep them rolling. I said this, earlier. Ralph's not. He's on a date. He's not with us tonight. Let's keep going here. Love some of these comments. How old is Ralph? Ralph is 25. He'll be 26 in August. We are 2 weeks apart, I think, in birthday. He always gets mad at me. 2 or 3 weeks apart to go up there. Matt, good to see you, brother. Excited to be here. Dog 18, I saw you in the comments of the Cover 3 podcast the other day talking about Georgia Tech. I don't know if you saw me mention something in there. Absolutely love it. Nancy, love that you still remember the ATL and GT even though you moved. Nancy, never going to change. Absolutely not. Love to be here, continuing doing this in that. Justin, show the Georgia helmet, show the world who you really are. Should we do it here live on stream? We'll see if the viewer count goes down. You can tell, got a lot of different stuff going on behind me. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there you go. It's, folks, just calm down. It's a Vince Dooley signed football. It was a gift. It is what it is. You can roll there. You should do the countdown to a Rick roll. Okay. And Nancy, enjoy the interviews. Really thanks for that. John, you're really excited about this season and go Jackets. Let's see. The intro is going to be the outro for today. So you're going to hear it. Don't worry. Predictions on recruits we're still waiting on. I mentioned this. I know this question was asked earlier in the show. Christian Pritchett's a guy that I feel really, really good about and where they're heading with that. And you're just going to want to stay tuned to that. Make sure to head over to crowdedbook.com. Subscribe to that. We're going to have some good stuff out there. Questions here. Tobias. Appreciate you tuning in, Tobias. Loyal listener, loyal follower. What is the minimum number of wins that Key needs to be the coach of the year? If he gets to 8 regular season wins, he's your ACC coach of the year. I think 8. 7 would be a strong argument in my opinion. 7 and 5 regular season wins and then you go win a bowl game, 8 and 5. But if you get to 7 and 5, kind of depending on what happens with, like a team like Virginia Tech, some other programs, it would be interesting to see. But I'll tell you this, it's going to be kind of hard because if Florida State has a really successful year, that's going to be difficult for a lot of people to see. And all I know is that we showed the football and the view count went up. So that's really good right there. Let's go. Best Bobby. Matt, absolutely love you. Absolutely. Best Bobby Dog atmosphere. In the box with Kelly or down in 1, 2, 3 with the boys. Oh, that's just amazing. Matt, appreciate you tuning in, Matt. As always, know you've been watching the show for a long time. We're going to continue rolling out the content for people like you who love it. Have you spoke with current players and how they feel about the state of the program? Not current players, but have talked with parents and people around the program. And look, they absolutely love everything from the shift in how they are preparing their bodies and weight training and just the nutrition aspect. It just seems that it's being taken to another level. So I think that's been really, really good to see. What percentage of improvement do you believe we have made in the staff over last year with the waffle? John, appreciate you tuning in. Percentage is hard for me, John. I'm not a math person. I don't know if you know that. I would say, though, and we highlighted some of the names, and I didn't even really get to anyone. I mean, I really like the staff changes they made, but I'm most excited to see Chris Winkie in year 2 with like maybe full reign of control because his combination with Buster Faulkner is going to be like really, really, really fun to watch. Like I would love to be a fly on the wall in those meetings because Faulkner's going to play a role in it. Winkie brings his expertise. I think that the quarterback position is something that in the next 5 years we're going to see take a massive leap at Georgia Tech in the modern day of college football that we may have never really seen. And look, again, people get mad at that. That's fine. But I want you to understand in the modern day of college football, I think that's going to be something. So that's one I want you to see. Question, will we end up with a top 20 class? You're probably going to have to nab maybe another 4-star. That's going to be something kind of interesting to watch in that sense. But I think, if this class sits like if it can stay a top 35 class, that's really, really good. And who knows? Success on the field this year could sway some minds. Is it true they're ranked 13th in recruiting, Kevin? Kevin, appreciate you tuning in. Kevin, I go off since I'm employed by 24/7 Sports, and the class right here that I'm looking at, overall rank, and this is as of currently 21 overall in the country in a 21 composite ranking, so not really sure. Michael, appreciate you as always. Michael, if you don't know, made the design for the Swarm Talk t-shirts, did a fantastic job with that. Also did the in Kiwi Trust t-shirts. If you haven't gotten one already, make sure to click the merch link down below. Tobias, once again, how long has it been since we have had a coaching staff this solid, if ever? I don't know. I don't know because it was prior to me covering the program. And I think that, obviously for me to say they're going to be solid, I need to see, once again, this is just recruiting conversations and how they're doing in that. I want to caution everyone. This is where people say, "Oh, he's not a Georgia Tech fan." Everyone felt really happy-go-lucky about a lot of these things 5 years ago. So we just need to maintain and understand that as well. So just something to keep an eye on with that. Matt Brook as well. The Bees tweet from Kenyatta, are those verbal commits that aren't public? I need to check in on that. I haven't seen the tweet specifically, but yeah, sometimes you see those and then you see Brent Key do the GT and what he puts in there. Matt, you missed being in Georgia already. Absolutely, will always Georgia will hold a special place. Nancy, love you that he's doing the crawfish cookout for his guys. Oh, it's really cool. It's really cool. I haven't done that as well. Haven't had crawfish yet. Got to do that. Kevin Griffin, do you think this season's play will affect these kids' commitment? For better or for worse, yeah. I mean, to say it's not going to affect the overall commitment, maybe how they feel about things, because you can paint it in two lights. If there's not a lot of success as a recruiting staffer, you can turn around, and this has happened. I will give you a story. Last year at the Clemson game, recruits are being walked around and everything, and they're sitting in a section at Mercedes-Benz, and obviously the result was what it was. And there was a message to the recruits of like, okay, so we need you. Like, so it's going to be painted in two different lights. You can come join something, but if you've watched some of the interviews, Kevin, I encourage you, if you have not, to go check those out here on the channel. Some of the interviews, it's like all these kids are making a decision that they want to do something different, and they want to be a part of something different instead of following the mold, and want to be an individual. And Georgia Tech right now is a prime spot to provide just that. Let's keep going here down the list as we keep going. Ralph, no date. He's asleep. Tobias, Buster is one of the best offseason hires, period. I think that we could look back. If Georgia Tech goes 7-5 in regular season, wins a bowl game, if they go to a bowl game this year, it would be hard to argue that he's not, up for, or at least in the semifinalist running for, offensive assistant or coordinator of the year. I just think that absolutely. Matt, I'm going to leave your Discord. Any chance that we blow out Louisville? We're going to be doing some previews and looking at that. I mean, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance. Why is the Rivals versus 24/7 rankings so far apart? I think they just take into different, things necessarily. It's a different process. I can't really speak to the way that Rivals does things. I know that 24/7 really does, some pretty extensive research in theirs. They compile a lot of different data. It's not just measurables. It's not just necessarily, how fast a kid runs. They do that to kind of figure out a lot of different things. So GT Bowhunter, what has to happen to win 8 games? If that's my best case scenario, and we're going to talk about this once again, we're going to have a live show that is detailing, and I'm going to get to that towards the end. We'll have a live show talking about all the predictions for the 2023 season. What has to happen to win 8 games? I think offensively, you've got to see either Haynes King or Zach Pyron step up and take leadership, and not only step, but run with it. Like, you have to have the quarterback be the identity of the football team in a positive way, not in a bad way. And I think that if they have that, and look, you've also got to have solid offensive line play. If you can have solid offensive line play and a threat at quarterback, I think you've got enough weapons, as Georgia Tech has had in recent years, to be able to do some damage with just that. Randy Carson, appreciate you, Randy, for tuning in. What would a loss do to Louisville this season? Could we recover from that? Of course. Why I do think that Louisville is probably on my top 3 of most important games of the season. Even if you lost that game by a touchdown, it would be shades and different. And if you could walk away from that game, no one wants to lose. I get that. But if you could walk away from that game saying to yourself, you know what? We were 1 or 2 plays away. We were 1 or 2 plays away. And you walk away because, look, there's different ways to walk away from a loss. When we all walked away from the Virginia game last year, no one felt good about that. But when you walked away from, the Georgia game last year, although it didn't go the way you wanted, you still felt, okay, this team's different. And there was that's when the push really started publicly for Brent Key. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's a make or break game. It's a tone setting game. There's 2 different things in that. Tone setting game, not a make or break game. Let's go. Bryce, Todd, what has surprised you so far in Key's tenure so far? Todd, no big deal. It's BRYCE. Still love you, Todd. Still stay subscribed to the channel. Appreciate it, though. Let's talk about this. Surprised me necessarily. I don't know if anything surprised me other than, I guess we could say Mike Daniels getting letting go. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that. Probably said too much already. The real question is, you're going to attend GT games this coming up season? We'll see. Not sure. We will see. Let's go. Does Broyle staff or O'Leary Fridge's staff were the two best ever staffs? Whether, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking a question. Dodd. Yes, absolutely fantastic. Beauty in the beard furniture flips. When next live show and where's my incredibly sign? If you give me a second. If I don't unplug everything, give me a second here. Because, this is YouTube. We can take as much time as we want, right? I got it right here, my friend. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about it right here. You like it? So that's that. Got to get some more made, but if you want one, seriously, if you really want one, I know you PM'd me on Discord. You should do that. What has surprised you with so far with Key since he took over as head coach, Todd? I know we got to that one right there. Why is Ralph better looking than you? I take that, as a compliment, but we'll see. Nancy, they want to be part of making Georgia Tech great again. I agree with you. I mean, you heard, I think the best interview with that was Kobe Young, and I think that was the best one. John Burns, 4-1 in the month of September. John, keep it towards the end. I want to hear talk about that in the end. See, Dog, I bet the problem is with one play away is that we always have with Collins. I'll give you that. That is necessarily correct. But towards the end, like the UCF game last year, you were technically, I guess, one or two plays away. But there's just a different feeling, and I don't know if I can explain it until you've had it. The Georgia game is the best explanation for it because those guys were in a tough situation, obviously, with Pumachan and Gibson having to play quarterback, kind of thrust into that role. But I absolutely like that. Matt, start, bench, or cut Pyron, King, Gibson. I'm going to go, this is just my opinion, like as of right now. I'm going to go start. I'm going to start Haynes King. If his throwing fix, I just really want to see if he can cap out the talent because I think we know what like Zach Pyron can bring to the table and continue to get better. So that's clear. So I'll go Pyron as the number 2, Gibson as the number 3 in that. Vince, did you miss it? I don't think so, Vince. I think you're here. Come to the Ole Miss GT game. I need to know what tailgate to come to. That's what I need to do. Do you think our schedule is a little more manageable this year? Kevin Griffin, let's bring it up. I'm going to use FBS schedules here. Great website. You should check it out. Anybody remember the little pocket schedules they used to give out? I loved those things as a kid. Absolutely loved those things. All right, 2023 schedule. You open up against Louisville. You have South Carolina State. You have, let's see if we can find this. All right. At Ole Miss, at Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is a winnable game. That's going to be a big game. That's another one of those that kind of leans in the sense of, can you get to a bowl game? Wake Forest is a must win, in my opinion. At Miami, that's going to be a tough game, just going down there. Boston College, I think that's a winnable game. North Carolina at home, I've been wrong in the 2 years I've said that they're going to lose. They won, so I guess I'm going to pick them to lose. It's like here on June 29th, I want you to know that I'm going to go ahead and pick them to lose. So they'll win. That's what we're doing. That's homecoming. At Virginia, you should be able to win that game. At Clemson, we'll see what kind of fight. Syracuse, you should win that game. Georgia, you should win that game. So I think it's manageable. I think the biggest thing I like about it is you took off that fringe group of 5 Power 5 team in UCF. So now you essentially have a game against South Carolina State and Bowling Green that you should win those 2. You should beat Boston College. That's 3. If you can find a way to beat, if you beat Virginia, Louisville, you can get, there's a path. There's a path. Absolute path. Lose the red. Vince, lose the red. Are you talking about like the red on the on-air sign, the red on the Valdosta State helmet, the Tim Anderson Birmingham Barons bobblehead? See what this thing is right here? I got some tech stuff coming in for right there. Absolutely. And then I got the Tech Media Pass right here. Masters is yellow. There we go. Vince, once again, Kenyatta Watson Sr.'s impact is being felt. Matt, I knew you'd pick King. Yeah, it's interesting. Nancy, loved when he got season ticks with players' photos, not generic white and gold. Yes, I think I know what you're talking about there. Oh, we can't put that up there. That's not good. 2025 looks better than 2024. I'm guessing schedule wise. That's what you mean? Yes, schedule wise. Let's look at that 2025 schedule. Let's look at that. I'll read out some of the schedule for you. I know obviously it's not set yet, but we can still look at. You're going to Colorado. Like, who's making the trip out there? It's gonna be fun. Gardner Webb, the running Bulldogs. You get Temple, Georgia. Yeah, I mean that's three winnable games. You got to see what Dion's going to have them looking like. I mean, there's going to be talent there. That's what you're going to have to understand. That is, that right there. Andrew Scheibel. Andrew. Okay, so this is the problem, Andrew. Andrew and I know each other because of this right here. See that? The Berry College glass. That's how we know each other. Go Vikings. Hook 'em. Andrew asked, who's the team we lose to that we're supposed to be and the team that we win that we're supposed to lose to? It's happened every year since 2006 when I started watching GT football. All right, so I'm going back to this schedule. In 2023, I think the number one team, in my opinion, that they would lose to is going to be Boston College. Like, that's a game that they should not lose, in my opinion, and they would lose. Like, that's that. A game they shouldn't win. Why not at Clemson? Like, why not go up there and beat them? That'd be kind of fun because I think that Ole Miss is going to be tough to beat over there. But I think that Clemson. So I think would beat Clemson, but you'd lose to Boston College. Would that be like the most Georgia Tech thing ever? Probably so. Probably so. Oh, Vince, the red and your crowded blue flag you were showing. I love that. We played GSU for the first time in 2024. Nancy's going to Ireland. That's going to be also. He's also known as Bruce. Going back to special teams, Matt, how do you feel about Georgia Tech's going into the season? Well, first off, I want to say this about the kicking situation. Vastly better. I really think that Aiden Burr's a guy. Ricky Brumfield has said this. He wants all three guys to be involved in some capacity. And so I really like that in the sense they're creating that kind of real competition. That's a tough word. It's a buzzword, no pun intended. I like that they're doing that. I think it's really, really good. So we'll see kind of where it goes from there. But obviously, I think that Aiden Burr's a guy that could step up. Gavin Stewart as well. I had PTSD from the last time I played Gardner Webb. Fun fact for you. Obviously, no longer anymore. Called Mercer football for 2 years. We went up there and played Gardner Webb, beat the brakes off of them in their home stadium. Not a lot going on over on the Gardner Webb campus. I will say that. Richie Popkin. Richie, appreciate you tuning in on a fine Thursday evening. What is Key's ceiling raised to with the staff additions plus early recruiting success? I'll take it kind of two-parter because I'm not sure where, and if you want to specify kind of how you want it. The Key's ceiling this year, 8 wins. What is the ceiling if he can continue this? I think an ACC championship. I think that's what they can do. And an extended playoff, why not? They could get to a playoff spot for sure. We'll go in the Crowded Booth Pub Bar. I think our guys may be fired up with Ole Miss getting some of our guys. I agree with you. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. And obviously, you add into the fact, Nancy, that they embarrassed Georgia Tech at home. So a chance to prove a point on the road against an SEC opponent. Do we have the roster to beat Ole Miss straight up, or do we have to play like we went against Georgia, Sea-Dog? For me, I want to keep the predictions maybe till we get to fall camp. So I'm going to do the best political statement I can here, and I want to answer the question in a roundabout way. I think that this roster has talent. I do agree. I think that they have talent. They got some really, really good talent. We're going to take a look in some position previews at that talent. But do they have the roster to beat Ole Miss straight up? I don't think so. I think that you're going to have to overachieve a little bit. But this is the thing, too. We're saying that right now in the month of June, and nobody really knows what this team's going to look like, as Brent Key really being the head man. And that's something that's different. We don't know what Brent Key looks like as a head coach, not with the interim tag taken off. There's a lot of emotion built up towards the end of the season last year. So what does it look like when he's the decision maker in that? Matt Brooke is UGA in trouble, obviously referencing some of the accusations that have been placed against the Georgia football program. I think that when you are winning a lot and you get put under a tighter microscope and things come to there. Are you living in Baton Rouge or another city? Baby, I'm right here in the middle of Baton Rouge. Ever since we have moved to Louisiana, it has been in a heat advisory warning. Heat index of 104 today. So absolutely fun. But listen, what do we need to get to Ireland next year? Well, they're already going, aren't they, Matt? You have to specify for me. I'm not. I'm serious. Being serious. Aren't they already? If they're already going, then it should be fine. We'll see. Do you have any news about Jay Bad and what he's doing for us behind the scenes? I will say that he has made great strides in trying to publicize the program and market it in a professional manner to the people who matter, if that makes sense. There's still work to be done on the NIL front. That's not going to happen overnight. There's still work to be done in the fundraising part of things. But I think what JBAT is doing is taking corrective steps to the people who matter, to the money folks, to people in Atlanta, and marketing in a way that I think the 404 and the Waffle House, whatever, it got gimmicky because it was thing for players. You can't take what is going to market to a 17-year-old kid and market to a 45-year-old businessman in downtown Atlanta. You can't do that. So the kids, sitting there with the Letterman jackets on, that's awesome. Pictures are sick. You've seen a lot of them on our site. But what you can't do is you can't take that for the same thing as that. So having opportunities to sponsor, I think JBAT's going to get really, 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 really creative in that sense. Matt, appreciate you and not getting offended. And because I seriously wanted to make sure I understood your question. Bryce, what do you need to get to Ireland next year? Well, Matt, there's a lot of things, Matt. There's a lot of things. LSU is playing against USC in Las Vegas. So, that's going to be kind of hard to pass up. And since that is, my job, we'll have to see. But you know what? I've mentioned this in head to the Discord. Matt, if you're not in the Discord, I apologize if I don't know your Discord username. Make sure to go in there and shoot me a DM or DM me on Twitter if you haven't already. All right, radio. And now that you're traveling wider circles, what are you hearing about tech outside the state? This is a great point. I talked with a couple of people the other day watching Michael Turner Jr. Work out, and the consensus was they knew Georgia Tech was really in on him. He is a guy that they, respect Ricky Brumfield a lot. And, people outside are taking notice because of the recruiting. But as you know, nationally, Georgia Tech has only been covered in one or two areas because they were really, really bad. They were kind of a joke at times, and the Jeff Collins firing. So it hasn't been a lot of positive news in the sense, but there is a sense of where, hey, he's respected. Brent Key is a guy who, really cares. That's kind of been a thing about Georgia Tech, and it's cool to see a guy that really cares get the chance to lead his program. So I absolutely want to do that as well. Kevin Griffin, what do you think will be more explosive this season, offense or defense? I think that I'm going to go on a limb. I think offense will be more explosive than the defense. Randy, we got that question right there. Couple more questions before we get out of here for the evening, because it is, we got 4 minutes, folks. 4 minutes. Is there any upside for the Ireland game for Tech? We were playing a very hard team, not even on Prime TV. I think it does. It's cool, but listen, I sit in the camp, and this has really been made kind of a big deal recently. People talking with Georgia Tech people. A lot of you, somebody mentioned Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports, another Georgia guy, Columbus, Georgia guy like myself, but more specific, a Harris County guy like myself. I don't think anything can match a college football atmosphere at the home stadium. So I just think that it's cool. Like it's a trip of a lifetime. The last time they played there, obviously, most people know, good friends with Taquan Marshall. Congratulations, Taquan, on he's going to be having a baby girl, former quarterback for Georgia Tech under Paul Johnson. And I believe that he was the quarterback when they went there last time, or he was on the roster. And he enjoyed it. He absolutely enjoyed that. So it's a chip for a lifetime for those guys. Talked with someone on the Georgia Tech communication staff that I'm close with, and he said, hey, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun to go to Ireland. So it's cool in that sense. But if I'm just sitting at home wanting to watch the game, I'd rather see Bobby Dodd packed out. I would. Or if they're, it just depends. I'd rather see them play essentially at a home environment, wherever they're playing that game. So Randy as well. A couple more questions before we get out of here. Are you hearing that Georgia people nervously acknowledging the change in tone, or are we just not on the radar? I think the move for Bussner Faulkner was, Georgia fans just talking with him, like it was respected. It was like, that's a good move. Like that's a solid move for them. That's a really, really good move for them. Ever since the game last season, there's been more of, they still view Tech sometimes as the little brother. They know that they are better and they are a more talented roster. That's just a fact. It's not an opinion. But I think that they do realize that, hey, there was some respect grown in the sense of they came in and competed, and then they add a guy like Buster Faulkner to the mold. We're like, hey, they're on the up and up. I don't think that they are concerned because we got to realize there's always going to be a comparison between the two programs. But what we have to understand is that should not be the measuring bar. That's just my take. It fires up a fan base. It sells tickets. It makes for a cool promo video. But you got to worry about yourself and getting and beating consistently the Virginias, Virginia Techs, the Wake Forests, the Boston Colleges before you get on that level. And they're in a different stratosphere than 125, 130 other FBS programs right now. That's kind of where I'm sitting at. So is Faulkner gone if Tech's offense explodes this year? I don't think so. I do not think so. It would have if I will say this: if Buster Faulkner, because of his ties to the state of Georgia, we mentioned earlier his connections to Parkview. Obviously, we're getting Aaron Philo as well from Prince Avenue Christian. Unless they went to the playoff, I think that he's going to stay. So that's what that is. Sea-Dog 18, it would feel like the game doesn't even count for the season mine. I agree with you. That's just where I sit where I believe that I want to see the games right there, I want to see the games at a home stadium. To me, there's nothing that beats going to a home football game and experiencing that crowd. 2 more questions we're going to get to if you have any. Vince Wilkes. All right, this is it. Vince and then Beauty. Well, we're not going to get to Beauty, who is private messaging me for some reason. I'm not sure why. Would be nice if we have some residual Irish fans who attended the game against Boston College 2016 and saw us control that game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like I don't know what that looks like. So it's 2016. I think I need to refresh on that. Should Georgia and Tech play every other year instead of annually? Randy, great question to end on here for the night. I'll say this. I think it can be a great rivalry. I've seen it be a really good rivalry. It needs to get back to that. It needs to get back to that within the next decade. And then you start to have the conversation of what it needs to look like. So it is right there. Is Credited the greatest college football podcast of all time? Sea-Dog, I hope that you think so. But look, it's not only that. We had a great episode, Ralph and I did, talking about the Atlanta Braves. We're going to continue to talk about different things around the sport of college football, specifically this Georgia Tech show tailored towards you and the Braves. But I encourage you, if you want to hear other things, if you want to say, hey, I wish I could do more, make sure to check out the rest of the channel. Vince as well, probably not, but would be cool. So listen, I really appreciate everyone tuning into this live show as we kind of wrap it up here. Fantastic showing. You came out with your questions. You did exactly what I wanted you to do, and you nailed them on the head. That's why I appreciate you. A couple more things before we get out of here. We've been talking about this. It's been kind of in the works on the Discord. And if you want to know what I'm going to talk to you about, you need to head over to the Discord. Link down below. Check it out. All it is a free forum to bring in your thoughts. We've got anything off topic, but we've also got Georgia Tech football, basketball coverage. We'll post links in there. It's good talk between a fun fan base. We're continuing to talk some things as well. I appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure before you get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We want to hit 2K subs before college football season starts, and it's up to you to get us there. I think we're around 230 away. We can do it. Let's bound together. Take your mom's phone, take your grandmother's phone, take your grandfather's phone, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and make sure to do this. What's what we're going to do next time? We're going to catch you. I hope you have a fantastic July 4th holiday. The next episode, and I told my man Jonesy, I guess that's how you say his name, Jonze on Discord. See, I build relationships with people like this, okay? I told you to keep your bold predictions to yourself until I open the door for them. We're going to have a live show completely dedicated to you. We may even open up the phone lines, and I want your boldest predictions for the Georgia Tech season. So if you haven't already, this is the different ways you can do this, okay? You can email your boldest predictions to thecrowdedbooth@gmail.com. Easily, your boldest predictions there. You can tweet them at me. I'll save them. Or you can come in the next live show when we do that show, and you can put them right there as well. We're going to do all of that as well. So I appreciate you. Make sure to tune in. I'm going to go get some dessert. Mint chocolate chip ice cream is on the menu. But we'll catch you next time here. Swarm Talk, the best Georgia Tech show that you're ever going to find. Rec Talk, Sea-Dog, you're fantastic. Love you. But when we all get together, it's a really good time. I'll catch you next time.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.